Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Welcome to Dig on America, where we speak truth to power. Every week, we give you the dig on how American history, policies, and media created the social and political issues we face today. DOA is independent media supported by listeners, but they'll tell you we're just fake news, deep state propaganda, funded by George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, BLM Marxists, and
Count Chocula.
Amit.
It's always someone Egyptian with you.
You didn't watch Moon Knight?
Yeah, I did, but Count Chocula is better. Who's your sponsor, Mikey?
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Very nice.
The Greek freak.
$1 for Dig on America. $2 for Dig on America.
When you dig on America, it's money. 1, 2, smacks.
This is why you got to tune in for the show. And I'll tell you what, I'm starting the dig here. But you got to tune in for the live stream because you miss all the fun shit that doesn't make the final video. You crazy people, why are you missing this hilarity?
Left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. But let me I'll tell you what, let me give myself as you can see, I'm a road warrior again.
Yes.
In the hotel.
Those boobs.
Yes, sir. And it is there's a stripper behind me. I thought I sent her home already.
Hey, yo, move your camera up. They can see your ashtray.
Mercedes, lay down. I'm not Mercedes, I'm Alizé.
Like the champagne.
So today's dig. My 8th grade social studies teacher,
Mr. Humble,
taught me things that it turns out wasn't always the whole truth. And this week, we're going to talk about what the heck are states' rights and why are they a thing and are they good or are they bad? We're going to discuss that right now. For those new to the show, if you want to pause me, you can just yell out pause and I will stop what I am saying.
Test pause.
And we can discuss it.
That was a test. Just a test of your pause system.
Okay, unpausing. Now, here we go. States' rights. Now, states' rights, why am I doing this? Well, you might say states' rights are in the news right now over the topics of abortion, LBGT issues that are, I don't know why these things are still in the news, but they're still in the news, and over the so-called parental control in education, which is, of course, cover for battling the evil specter of CRT, which we found out earlier in the show, by the way, Catherine is completely responsible for. So,
her baby.
However, this is not new. States' rights was the battle cry of the Confederacy, as in May of 1861, 161 years ago this month, that the final states seceded from the Union in the Civil War. So states' rights rears its ugly head again in Florida, Texas, etc. And to the folks in the chat, Jen, Lamar, Marissa, thanks for joining the show. Marissa, we know you hear a lot about states' rights living in Texas, so you should love this. So what exactly are states' rights? And why do they hold such significance in the United States? According to Britannica, states' rights is the rights or powers retained by the regional government of a federal union under the provisions of a federal constitution. In the U.S., as well as Switzerland and Australia, the powers of the regional, in our case state, governments are those that remain after the powers of the central government have been enumerated in the nation's constitution, enumerated, laid out, etc. So, according to the website ThoughtCo, who I think had the best definition of this, states' rights refer to the political rights and powers granted to the states by the U.S. Constitution. This is also often called federalism. In issues such as slavery, civil rights, gun control, voting processes, and marijuana legalization, conflicts between states' rights and the powers of the federal government have been debated for centuries. Debated,
Objection.
not debated.
Objection, Your Honor. The Civil War was not fought over slavery. It was fought over states' rights to have slaves. Don't even try to weasel your left-winged ass in here with your ridiculous points. I see where you're going.
Noted. I will refrain from the argument. Under the doctrine of states' rights, the federal government is not allowed. You're not allowed to interfere with the powers of the states. Keep your dirty federal hands off of my state. Because these powers are either reserved or implied by the 10th Amendment. So, what does the 10th Amendment say? Well, it's remarkably short, hence the debate. Quote, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states, respectively, comma, or to the people. After the Constitution was ratified, a number of congressmen proposed amendments limiting federal powers to those expressly delegated, which would have denied what are called implied powers. Implied powers are those authorized by the Constitution that, while not stated, seem implied by powers that are expressly stated. When arguing for a national bank, Alexander Hamilton took a break from singing his parts in the musical to argue the following on implied powers. Quote, the sovereign duties of... No, I won't sing it.
Oh, no.
Sovereign duties of a government imply the right to use means adequate to an end, end quote. Although the United States government was sovereign only as to certain objects, it was impossible to define all the means it should use, because it was also impossible for the founders to anticipate all for future issues. Hamilton noted that the, quote, general welfare clause and the necessary and proper clause gave elasticity to the Constitution, and George Washington, through his stolen teeth, uttered agreement. Now,
Objection. His teeth were made out of wood. That's CRT.
yes, they were made out of wood, bone from people.
No room for the truth here.
Keep it out.
Now, back to the proposed amendments to limit federal powers to those expressly laid out. James Madison opposed this, stating, quote, it was impossible to confine a government to only exercise express powers. He added that there must be admitted powers by, implication, unless the Constitution descended to recount every minutia. When the word expressly was then removed, Madison reintroduced the 10th Amendment, noting that many states were eager to ratify it, despite critics who deemed it unnecessary. Said Madison, I find, sir, that the several states are particularly anxious that it should be declared in the Constitution that the powers not therein delegated should be reserved to these several states. Perhaps words which may define this more precisely.
What is happening, Colonel Sanders? What is happening, Foghorn? What are you doing right now?
That is every founding and father and framer is Foghorn.
Why are they
Leghorn.
all Foghorn Leghorn? Like,
why aren't they? Why aren't they?
Where's he from? Where's Madison from? Like New York?
Who cares? He wore a white wig.
Why is he a Southerner just because he's
old? Gosh. All right.
I think that's in honor of my state, Mikey.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
No, I do it for all of them. But anyway, it's
like,
South Carolina.
It's like an old British guy. It's like, and I say.
South Carolina, throw your hands up. Wave it around your head kind of like a helicopter.
That was P.D. Pablo,
make
by
sure
the way.
you
P.D.
listen
Pablo.
to a video of our governor speaking.
Does he sound like me?
Oh,
See?
Let me get on this.
All right. So perhaps words which may define this more precisely may be considered superfluous. I admit, this is still Madison talking. I admit they may be unnecessary. Now, you're saying this about 10th Amendment. But there can be no harm in such a declaration, if gentlemen will allow. The fact is, as stated, I'm sure it is understood as so, and therefore I propose it. Well, you made a mistake. Anyway, The states ratified the 10th Amendment, declining to signal that there are unenumerated powers in addition to the unenumerated rights. The amendment rendered unambiguous which had previously been most a mere suggestion. So the phrase at the end is interesting, or to the people, right? And this was handwritten by the clerk of the Senate as the bill circulated between the two houses. It interestingly was not added by the states, because since when do states care about their actual people? The 10th Amendment, since never. The 10th Amendment, like all of the Bill of Rights, were added to the Constitution to calm fears that our government might be too strong and be too distant from the people, thus mirroring the monarchy of England and taking away individual liberties. In short, the 10th Amendment limits the federal powers to those specifically named. And I'm going to draw you an analogy here, okay? And this is from a former car guy. So I want you to think of your car's warranty. When you buy a new car, or even more directly, a used car with an extended warranty, there are two kinds of warranties, okay? You can have a comprehensive warranty, or you can have what is called a named apparel warranty. Now, I'm making this analogy on purpose. The comprehensive, which is sometimes called a bumper-to-bumper warranty, basically covers everything. And the exceptions to what it covers are going to be things that are named, right? So, for example, it may name a water pump, tires, and brakes as uncovered, or maybe covered for less time. But outside of what is named there, it's covered, okay? So it's a comprehensive warranty. A named apparel warranty is different and will sometimes also be marketed to you by the finance guy as a bumper-to-bumper warranty, because it covers things from bumper to bumper, but not everything in the middle of the two bumpers. And it's, again, named apparel. And hint, again, former car guy here, generally should be avoided. Powertrain warranties are acceptable for the most part, but they are also named apparel, and they'll cover only the engine and transmission. So in other words, they'll name what they cover. Other warranties that are often called bumper to bumper, but are not, might list 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 items that are covered in that warranty. And if it's not listed, it's on you. So this causes a lot of problems when you go to repair your car, because a lot of times your engine may go bad and you think it's covered because the engine is listed, but it was the oil pump that made it go bad and that wasn't covered. So because it's named apparel, now you're screwed, right? So pay up, chump. So why did I say all that?
I don't know.
The Bill of Rights basically turns the Constitution, the federal powers of the Constitution, from a comprehensive into a named apparel. It attempts, at least, to make it to the point where if it's not enumerated within and specifically implied that is a federal power, that it is therefore not covered, because they're trying to make they're trying to position it as something that is the body of the Constitution as named apparel. So in this particular, yes.
Have we considered calling Nicolas Cage?
Yes, I called him and he's here. Hello. As Ghost Rider.
No.
I'm gonna go steal the Declaration. So again, the Bill of Rights basically turns the Constitution into a named apparel warranty and puts the other parts of your car, which represent your rights and protections, in the hands of the states, whose laws may or may not cover those rights or protections, right? So hopefully that's a fair way for you guys to think about it. What's happened recently is that states' rights have been pushed by conservatives, and this part is commentary, but not to grant liberties and rights to their citizenry. It's the states' rights. I'm getting ahead of myself. They are not granted. They're not interested in states' rights to give rights to their people. They're interested in states' rights to control their people or control their citizens. It's the state's right, for example, to ban a practice that would otherwise be harmless, like, I don't know, laying in bed with whomever you want to lay in bed with, as long as they're consenting. But
end of age.
While protecting people who force others to lay in bed with them, even though they'd rather not. Now, what am I talking about there? Well, of course, there's laws that literally protect rapists. There's laws that literally allow child marriage, kids as young as 12 years old, right? So those are always packaged under state rights, and you never see them in the news. Or another example of what I'm saying is they want to control people and not give them rights. Protect a right for people to, let's say, own as many guns and bullets as they want to, and protect their homes from the hordes of zombies and evil ninjas masquerading as Mexicans and Muslims, paying no mind to the risk people may themselves pose to any mental health condition that they may suffer from that they're not required to look into in order to own those weapons. It's apparently a state's right to put heavy restrictions on voting, but to have almost no restrictions on how little a business can pay their workers. Interesting. Conservatives seem to be all for states' rights when it comes to restricting marijuana use or banning books, but God forbid that a state evoke its right to cut down on pollution or extend welfare benefits. Then they're socialists. So in the end, let us not forget that
Ms. Catherine,
Yes.
what's your take on marijuana?
What's my take on marijuana? I think we tried to get a bill passed here in South Carolina and didn't quite make it. But we have a number of physicians who have said that it's a good idea and have affirmed its medical use. So if something provides relief for people who are in need medically, I think that's fine. I also don't think marijuana is a gateway drug. So, the difference between marijuana and a stout beer, perhaps not so much.
Yeah, because I did a lot more stupid stuff drunk than high. Like eating all of the fruit snacks in one go.
Ugh.
I didn't even feel good in the morning, but that's the kind of mistakes I make high. Drunk, I don't know. Cops might be listening, but let's just say I was a very foolish young man.
real quick thing, shout out to the chat. Vic Stryker says, "What about my car's extended warranty? I keep getting calls out about it." It's interesting that I use that analogy because wouldn't you wish that you would get as many calls as you do about your car's extended warranty as you do about your rights? That would be interesting. So I'll close this out with this. And again, in the end, let us not forget that the Articles of Confederation, our country's first governing document, was extremely weak, right? And because the Articles of Confederation was weak, it therefore failed. This proved that a weak and toothless government, central government, despite how scary it may seem, is important and necessary to get shit done. Alexander Hamilton believed this. This was indeed the point of the vast majority of the Federalist Papers. The Federalist Papers were written to convince the citizenry that we needed a stronger central government.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that the next time a conservative talks to you about the Federalist Papers, which they love to do. This is not to say the checks and balances are not good, because they absolutely are good. Mm-hmm. However, states' rights becomes a conversation for controlling people or marginalizing people or keeping people back more often than it becomes a conversation for a state to protect their people from something that is negative going on. It's always under the guise of negative, but what is effective, what is actually negative and affects everyone, not what your neighbor's doing in his house that has nothing to do with you. So there is today's dig.
Now, I do want to add something to the dig,
yes, please.
Which I mentioned previously to you, is that a number of states have passed an effort to have a constitutional convention, which...
Yes, I'm glad you brought that back up.
Yes, which will allow a re-examination, reconfiguration of our U.S. Constitution. And as a matter of fact, that was being discussed in the South Carolina State House today. And one of the things that, and I wasn't watching, so I don't know which legislators said this, but apparently there was some discussion about which things in the Constitution should be left in and left out. And the recommendation to leave in the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment was not supported. So after that was posted, and there was some discussion, I later heard that, oh, well, they reversed that. So I don't know if it was the Twitter thing and the eyebrows going up on Twitter and people starting to write about it. I don't know that. But I know that there was someone in the room saying, oh, that 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, we don't need those.
Yeah,
I actually found the archive.
Okay.
I put it in the chat. I can repost. I got the link right here.
Yes.
Unfortunately, some of the videos were like 14 hours long. Y'all are on your own. I'm not finding that for you. So yeah, I can give you the archive, but I'm not gonna find it.
Well, there's a brief article here from AP. It's 3 paragraphs. I'll read 2 of them. The state from Columbia, South Carolina, the state Senate approved Wednesday a proposal. This article, by the way, is from March 9th of this year. Approved Wednesday a proposal that would add South Carolina to the list of states calling for a convention to propose specific amendments to the U.S. Constitution. Every African-American senator voted against the proposal, saying they feared the national meeting could get protections or could gut protections their ancestors had to fight for over 2 centuries. Nearly 20 states have passed similar measures.
You don't need
the U.S.
those
Constitution
protections anymore. Yeah.
Well, you need 34, and we have over 20 who have called for a. Now, personally, I'm in favor of new amendments and rewriting some of the Constitution. The problem is that the way that we are divided in the way that power is broken down is that Wyoming has essentially the same power as California, even though it's 6 people live there, right? So it's like and you literally have calls from conservatives to break that down to county. And the reason why they want to do that is because they have an even bigger delta when it comes to counties. But I say, let's do houses. Let's break it down all the way. Why stop
Like the
at
Targaryens?
county? Let's do it. Yeah, let's break it down to every house. So we'll go to every house in America, every apartment complex, and we'll give each one of them 1 vote, and then we'll see who wins. But no, they're not going to want to go that far.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to every individual person in America. You keep wanting to slide the ball downhill, but no, they're dishonest. They want to stop it where it benefits them. But anyway, Haas, states' rights, your thoughts.
My thought is this. When you start, it's a double-edged sword, because some of these states that want to be repressive and oppressive will, pass stuff that's repressive and oppressive, and those that do not desire to flee oppression will be moving to other states. So what happens to your economy when you pass like all of these what do they call them, trigger laws, automatic trigger laws that are going to go into effect if Roe passes?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how many people are going to move out of your state if you
explain to the uninitiated what you mean by that? Because that's a great point, but I don't think some people might not know what that means.
So an automatic trigger law is like in the case of Roe versus Wade. It's a law that's on the books basically, but it doesn't kick in until Roe versus Wade is overturned. And immediately once Roe is overturned, this law becomes active and enforceable as law.
Yeah, for example, if it was illegal before Roe in that state, but they never changed the law just became unconstitutional based on the Supreme Court's decision. But because they never rescinded that law,
they didn't rescind it. That's right.
Right. Then Roe being overturned would recodify that law.
Exactly. And also there's been laws that have been put on the books after Roe that are just contingent upon Roe being overturned. So what's going to happen is, as a state whose government seeks to repress and oppress, this law, you get what you want. This law becomes codified as law, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the backhand of that is you're going to have a lot of people packing their bags and leaving your state. And you might also have some corporations leaving your state.
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, you get what you want, but on the other hand, do you really?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have an economic impact. Because in this day and age, where removing your dollars is protest, some of these we've seen it already, where corporations and companies have said, "Oh, guess what? We're not bringing the All-Star game to your state because you made this a law."
Yeah, MLB did
guess
that
what?
with Atlanta.
Those millions of dollars that would have come to your state are no longer coming to your state. And now what's going to happen is, I believe, there are going to be some corporations and businesses that move out of certain states and into other states and take their tax dollars with them.
Yeah, and shouts out to
jobs.
Shouts out to Amazon on this too, because they're the first. Like, and I have a lot of issues with Amazon, but they have pledged to fly their employees privately to a state where they'd be able to get the services that they need based on their choice. I think it's up to $3,000 of the company's expense. Now, it'd be nice if they actually gave better health care to everybody also while they're at it. But at least, credit where credit due.
That's exactly why we shouldn't trust Amazon with their own employees' health insurance. I don't think we should trust any company with their employees' health insurance, because they'll have a financial incentive to not give them the most expensive coverage possible.
Of course.
That's
This is another reason why we should have health care for all. Have y'all covered that? Y'all covered that already, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't go over that again like last time I was here, and I got in late because I was working, and I said something. And
Well, Anna got you though. Anna's the new boss here, so you got to deal with the boss. You got to deal with boss lady. Mikey, we'll close this out with Catherine, but Mikey, your thoughts on the states' rights? Like, how many rights should a state have in Mikey Fammon's infallible opinion?
None. Next question. No,
so so we should destroy all the governors.
I get governors, but it's also not the 1800s. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way that state lines are driven and the way our Constitution is written, it's written for an ancient age. Like, I don't need Governor Gaptooth from what's it called country or in what's it called state to literally be the only person standing in the way of someone's reproductive health. Like, it can't be that, because when people elect the governor, we wouldn't want to give them that power off rip. But once they're in there, they get to sign and veto whatever they like. And that's a problem.
And it's not just reproductive health. It's not just abortion. Right. It's voting. It's marijuana. It's a lot of different things. And there are times, I think, when it makes sense for a governor to protect people from a damaging federal law, and sort of be the umbrella there. But this was all put into place. Well, number one, to protect the slaveholding states. Let's just call a spade, right? But even after that, even after the 1860s, it was still important to enforce Jim Crow laws. But even after that, even in the early 1900s, it was still important to people, because we didn't have Twitter or national news where you could find out what happened in New York if you live in California 5 seconds later, right? Or you literally have, like, I get it. People in different areas have different issues, right? Like in California, we have a water issue. You don't have a water issue in South Carolina. You don't have a water issue in Chicago, but we have one in California. You guys in like Texas, they'll have hurricane issues, right? Or in Florida and stuff like that, they'll have hurricane issues, or that you'll have issues with, one thing or another. You have immigration issues on the southern states. You don't necessarily have those in, like Missouri or Chicago, right? Like, so you have issues that are different state to state. But when it comes to the rights of people, you don't have to protect people from a federal government that they, as much as you used to have to, because in those days, people would say, well, the federal government did this, but our mayor knows what's going on in this town, or our governor knows what's going on in this town, and they can enact laws that are good for us because of our unique situation. Now everyone knows about your situation immediately because it goes viral on Twitter 5 seconds later. Mm-hmm. So like we can unify on these issues. You have people, Catherine, who are supporting your Senate campaign who have nothing to do with the state of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Quite true. Thank goodness.
So your thought, close us out on states' rights. I mean, when is it important? When is it not important? Well, we're not trying to advertise this as being all bad. It's just mostly bad. Like, he's not dead. He's mostly dead from Princess Bride.
I'm gonna close out by talking about balance of power. So I think that this year, one of our roles and one of our challenges is to make sure that there is a balance of power, a better balance of power between the two major parties in our state, Democrats and Republicans. So that is a charge I put to the voter, because whatever the federal rights are, the states' rights, the people that you put in there, that's going to be important. So right now, because of redistricting, we have lost, we're probably going to lose about 6 or 7 Democrats. And you'll go from a Republican majority to more of a supermajority. So with that being the case, you have to find your balance of power in other ways. So we want to make sure that we ask the voter to keep strong progressive people in their seats. Right now, all of the House is up for re-election, South Carolina House. So we want to do that. Another balance of power for states' rights will be municipal races. So your city and your county, whomever, your mayors, they can form a balance of power to the rights that the states have. And then if you have someone in the federal position, that also creates a balance of power. So if we have that, and we're able to execute that well in 2022, then states' rights will be less of an issue, because you have people who are focused on human rights and the rights of people in their community, as opposed to the rights of states to impose their will on other people.
Yeah. What she said. That's what I was going to say. I just didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I concur with the lady in the lower left.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all for allowing me to be a part of the show. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, we're happy to have you. We'd love to have you back at some point after you're in the Senate. So here's the deal you got to make with us. Unlike some people, when you get elected, you'll remember Dig on America, right?
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
I certainly will. So
from the halls of Congress.
Well, my first hope is that I win the primary and I come back and I talk to you from that standpoint. And then I'll come back and talk to you again as a U.S. Senator.
Perfect.
I'm going to be all up in the rotunda talking about sherbet ice cream. Where you at, girl?
Yeah, we got to find a way, though, to make sure that you don't lose your election based on your sherbet choice, because the ice cream people are not going to be happy with you. I mean, them Cold Stone fanatics.
The mint chip people were polling very, very strongly.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and Tim Scott. Tim Scott is a big fan of Edie's ice cream. So I mean, he's man. Why'd
so
you have
is
to
Biden.
say?
And so is Biden.
Well, yeah. Biden loves ice cream.
Yeah,
he's eating some right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Guaranteed.
I'm not sure he remembers that he's eating it, but he's eating it.
He's got brain freeze.
That's why. That's it. You just nailed it. That's the problem. He's got too much brain freeze all the time. He doesn't know what's going on. Oh, jeez. Thank God we've solved the problem.
Severe neurohypothermia.
Mikey, are there any?
No
Are there
ice cream before big speeches.
Mikey, are there any really interesting comments during the show that you'd like to focus on from our esteemed listeners?
They've mostly just been making fun of me. So I mean, I could read some of them.
Yeah, why not?
Wow, Mikey's so handsome.
Yeah,
on, guys.
That comment's on there like 60 times in a row.
Yeah, it's like
Somebody
somebody programmed.
author Mikey Fleming.
It's like somebody programmed a bot to just put the same thing in the chat over and over. Weird.
Mikey equals sexy.
Wow, what can I say?
Fire, fire, fire emoji.
Here, read this one.
Go for it, Haas.
From Vic Stryker. No disrespect, but that sounds like a porn name.
You know who that is?
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You don't know that you know, but you know.
Oh, this is an unknown.
No, this is a known unknown.
Vic Stryker. That sounds like probably Wayne Maker.
Think grilled cheese, man.
Oh, really? That's my homie? I had his the other day. The melting truck shirt. Anyway, from Vic Stryker, appearing at a male strip club near you. I honestly think there are a lot of good things state governments can do. They could be a lot more flexible than the federal government, but they also can be a huge pain in the ass.
That's what they do.
True.
Yep.
Definitely. I think that when you talk about states' rights, you know, I talked earlier about the bad side of the coin. There's also a good side of the coin where you have states, you know, looking out for their constituency, actually looking out for their constituency rather than their own religious interest or their own
Never
monetary interest or their own interest of hoarding power. You know, and I think that once again, and much like Mikey talks a lot about taxing the church, I talk a lot about removing corporate money from politics so that the politicians are actually beholden to the people that cast the votes and not the people that line the coffers.